One for you. Thank you so much for letting me inside of your world for the past 4 hours inside your Easter Monday holiday. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's Angie Stone right there with I Want to Thank You, working with Snoop Dogg. I hope that answers your question, Matthew. Yeah, good jam right there. You know I know my music. I'm telling you, I love it. Absolutely love it. 5 minutes before 2, so I'm going to pack it up and head out right now. Kerr is coming up, and he will take you through the next 4 hours of your day. Guys, enjoy the rest. Be safe as you do whatever you're doing today. Take us with you. And just remember, tomorrow's a brand new day. God willing, we are here to see it. And we've got to get back to the normal side of our life, getting into the work mode and doing what we can in terms of info as well. That's what we're going to jump back into right here on I95.5 as well. God willing, tomorrow I'll be in at 10, taking you through till noon. So until we connect again, just enjoy it and, just say thanks for the little things. Apply that gratitude, as Coffee says, instead of that jam called toast. Blessings and really be grateful for what we have. Good afternoon to Pamela and my girl Patrina. They're locked on in Belmont. To Cody down south, I'm seeing some of the creatives that I know inside of this world also locked on. The photographers and also the YouTubers. So nice to have you here. So many different ages, and that's what we're talking about, jumping into what we offer right here. So I gotta go. Take care of the rest of the day. Take care in the rest of the day, and be sure to keep it locked. We'll be back.
Yo, Teddy, say what you want to say.
Something on my chest, I want to express it. Let me ask you a question. Can I say what I want to say? I want to say what I want to say. Can I say what I want to say? I really want to say it. People don't know you, but they won't judge you. They talking about you. say what I want to say? Can I say what I want to say? I really wanna say it. At the back of your mind, you want to say this sometimes. Let me say what I want to say. I really wanna say it. I'm begging you, please don't touch me. Gonna put you to watch me. He don't like ugly, so tell them keep their eyes off me. Off of me. Off me. Off me. Off of me. Keep on talking. Yo, ballet, 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 ballet. Yo, ballet, 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 ballet. Oh la 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 la. Mind your business. Look in your house and fix it.
Say what you want to say.
DJ, oh yeah, international receiver.
Broadcasting from Port of Spain, Trinidad, this is the most influential name in radio, I95.5 FM Talk.
Hi, I'm Kheston Yohance.
And I'm Yohance IODK.
Have you ever wondered why we do the things we do?
Find out on Mindset, where we explore culture using neuroscience and psychology.
Every Monday from 2 to 3 p.m. right here on I95.5 FM.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for your attention this evening, and please call anyone you think this program will be of value to listen in. So, what is Mindset? Mindset is the program where we explore everyday life in the Caribbean, in Trinidad and Tobago, using neuroscience and psychology. And my name is Kheston Yohance, and with me today is my co-host,
Yohance IODK. You all hearing me?
Yes. Well, they can't reply, but I'm hearing you.
No, just making sure.
Okay. All right,
Good
great.
afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. And today we're actually going to be talking about suicide. We're going to look at some neuroscience aspects of it and also psychology. And with us today we have a special guest, but I'll leave it to Yohance to introduce her.
Yes, and you know, on Mindset, what we try to do is not only between Kheston and I, we want to hear everyone's opinion, and we also try to bring professionals in different areas. So we have today, and I will let her introduce herself.
Okay, I am Kelly McFarlane. I'm a clinical and organizational psychologist, and I am the public relations officer of the Trinidad and Tobago Association of Psychologists. So today I'm here representing the Association of Psychologists.
Yes, Kelly, thank you very much for coming. Now, on the topic suicide, now, this is not an easy topic at all. At all. Well, most topics we discuss very complex, but I think this topic has a certain degree of complexity.
Yes.
And in terms of the education, whether it is people who themselves experiencing maybe ideations or even thoughts, or maybe people around them, family members, friends who may know someone who may be thinking about this, and the importance of education and even information. So tell us exactly how we can get some more of that.
Great. So I'm glad you brought up the importance of education, because the Association of Psychologists, we are having this Saturday a seminar on suicide prevention and awareness, because we see it as very important to sensitize the public to the experience of people who get to the point of attempting or completing suicide, and the family members and friends that they leave behind, and how that impacts them and how it impacts the society as a whole. So we want to sensitize the public so that they are aware of how to help people when people are feeling, having suicidal thoughts, how to recognize when someone is having suicidal thoughts, what to do and not to do, because there are some not to do's. And of course, just to get that compassion for people, because a lot of times people get angry when someone attempts suicide or has completed suicide. And as we were chatting earlier, and I was telling you that there was a recent suicide on the overpass on the highway.
Attempted.
a recent attempted suicide. Thank you. And people were passing, according to the reports that I read, that I looked at, people were passing and saying jump. And in this 2019, we should have more compassion and understanding of the severity of what someone goes through when they get to that point and what not to do. Like, why would we do that?
So I have a question.
Sure.
Simple question. What is the prevalence of it? Like, I don't know if you have these stats for Trinidad, but just how big is this issue? I think it would be important for us to know that. Is it a really, really big one? Is it serious? I mean, it is serious, but you know what I mean? How prevalent is it?
The World Health Organization deems it a serious public health issue. Globally, 800,000 people complete suicide a year. That's a death every 40 seconds.
Wow.
In Trinidad and Tobago, we have the third highest rate in the Caribbean. And we are left to wonder, why? What is happening in the fabric of the society, and what's in the core, in the hearts of people, that's making this an option that is actually relevant, statistically relevant, globally and within the region.
800,000 is a lot.
That's an extreme lot.
Right, and I think I even read statistics where Trinidad is even higher than the United States per 100,000.
It is.
Crazy.
Which is, and I always think in this small island,
Yes.
right? If enough people, as you say, not commit, but you say complete.
Yes.
Complete the act. And of course, that's not something that would make newspapers.
Absolutely.
Right, unless it's something public where the person goes on the highway, or I remember there was someone on top the Port of Spain General Hospital. Then we would find out things like that. But other than that, there are a lot of suicides, of course, that we don't know about. So sometimes when we don't hear about it, we don't understand the severity of it.
Now, the thing about it is that suicide is preventable, first of all. But it also has a strong ripple effect in that every time a suicide is completed, there are, I can't remember the number, there's a certain percentage more people attempting. So it has that effect on society. One of the risk factors for suicide is knowing someone or being exposed to someone who has attempted or completed suicide.
Right.
That is a major risk factor.
Oh, that's a big one.
That's a big one, and that's why, when your society has it a lot, you kind of stay on the top. We have to do something.
It makes it sound like a contagion. I mean, of course, it's not a contagion, right?
No,
but
that's a term. That's suicide contagion.
Really?
It's
Yeah.
actually
Okay.
a term that
Okay,
is
cool.
used to explain that.
And I'm glad you raised that, because it tells to the interconnectivity of us on a whole. Because yes, we are individuals, but I mean, we are part of our society.
Absolutely.
Right? And I mean, sometimes a good analogy for our society is that we are like a human body. One part may not be more important than the other, but together we all function. And even understand how to treat with suicide, because as I was saying, when a suicide happens, because as humans we are open to suggestion. So we read it, right? So it comes into our unconscious or our subconscious. And then when we see someone do something that maybe we had fears, okay, well, if someone can do it, well, maybe, and put those ideas.
Absolutely.
So even I think how the media treats with suicide.
Big one.
And you could talk some, but I remember reading, there were two studies, one on the effect on reporting, I would want to say successful, but completed suicides.
Yeah.
The effect that it increased by, I can't remember the percent it said, it increased by a certain percent, but there's a converse report that where if you report attempted suicide or failed suicides, that you actually get the inverse effect. So if you publicize failed suicide, the suicide rate actually would go down.
Yeah. Because of what the person who has attempted it, what they remain experiencing with the harm that they've put into their bodies. And I've heard people talk about fearing attempting suicide because of what they know might happen if they didn't actually die. But back to the whole media thing, that is a very extremely important point, because the media does have a responsibility to report suicide in a proper and ethical manner. And so just like language, first of all, we say completing, and you corrected yourself. You said, I don't want to say successful, because it's not.
Because there's no success.
There's no success. We have to change the language as one. And then when talking about a suicide attempt, right, or completion, the media has to talk about mental health and its role, because at least 90% of people who died by suicide had an underlying mental health condition.
Yep, that's right.
Psychosis, personality, or mood or anxiety disorder.
Right.
So just like if you're reporting about a tornado, you have to report about the underlying weather conditions.
Correct.
Tornadoes don't just pop out of anywhere, neither does suicide.
Right.
So you have to educate people and let them know, okay, this happened, yes, but it wasn't just like snap, now I'm dead and I'm happy and I'm free, right? We have to know, okay, this is why this happens, and if you feel like this, this is where you go and this is what you do.
So we're going to open up for calls in about 7 minutes or so, and the number to call is 622-3937. That's 622-3937. So if you have any questions for us in the studio, you can ask, or if you have any comments that you want to make. I know that this is something that doesn't just affect the person that has attempted, as Kelly has said already, it affects everybody, right? As a matter of fact, it also has an economic impact. It has an impact on every single part of our society, because the smallest functional unit of a society is a person. And when we lose one, we lose a lot. So just to say the number again, in case you want to call, it is 622-3937, and we'll be opening up the lines in about 5 minutes.
Kheston, I'm glad you raised that again. It just proved the interconnectivity, because, as Kelly was saying, sometimes the media has a certain responsibility in reporting it. But of course, members of the media are comprised of members of society.
Yes.
And depending on the level of education we all have, in terms of suicide, is how we would treat with it.
Yes.
And that's why I'm glad you all having the suicide awareness. And of course, I'm hoping is something annual or every frequent enough. Tell me.
I'm glad you reminded me. So good news is that we're launching at the Eric Williams Medical Sciences Complex, but we will be moving into the communities.
Okay.
So for a period of time, we'll be having the same talks, free of charge again, in different community centers around the community.
All right, perfect.
That's nice.
But that
this is in Port of Spain and environs. This is just where?
No, this is around
Trinidad and Tobago.
South,
Excellent.
East, West.
So you're saying come on Saturday.
Come on Saturday.
Okay, where are we coming to?
Eric Williams Medical Sciences Complex, Amphitheater 2, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m.
Okay, solid.
Very nice. And so, just to go back to something you were saying before, in terms of people's attitude when the guy was on the overpass and they were passing and saying jump, right? In some discussions, I've heard people say, well, if he wants to kill himself, or he or she, just let them kill themselves. Why try to stop them? Or this young person, if I go through all this hardship and I'm not attempting, but if this person want to, well, let them go.
Well, you're touching on something there. There are what we call right to die advocates who believe that, okay, if someone has chosen that they want to end their life, we should allow them to do so. That's their choice. However, when we understand where suicide comes from, why it happens, we understand that the majority of people who die by suicide did not actually want to die. They wanted to escape from their struggles.
Yes,
The vast majority. In terms of, let's say, someone who's chronically ill, and they say, okay, I want to end my pain, I want to end my suffering. That is where a lot of right to die advocates come in as well. But very few people who are chronically ill actually attempt or want to die by suicide. And the few that do, it's in the context of depression.
Okay.
So
Go ahead.
when we understand suicide and we understand what drives a person to come to the point where they think that's an option, we realize that they've just run out of options.
Yes.
And they can't see or think of other options sometimes because of underlying mental illness, or just because they don't have the skills, they don't have the capacity, they just
Correct.
don't know.
Correct.
That's
And
where we come in.
yes, and I wholeheartedly, I like that you made sure the distinction between escape,
Yes.
because sometimes escape, some people equates as death.
Yes.
But all of us, all of us at times want to escape something.
Of course.
Right? I fed up of doing so much work.
Yes.
Right? And these things, I think all of us say things like, I wish I wasn't born. Yeah. I wish I wasn't here right now. I wish I could just go to sleep for about 2 weeks and just wake up.
But that is distinct from a suicidal thought, isn't it?
Yes. That is not the beginning of. Although
it's a red flag.
Yes.
For suicidal thought. Someone mightn't come out and say, I want to kill myself, but they will say things like that.
Right. And a good point, and I was going to say, even all of us at one time think that, but maybe it's a fleeting thought. But if it becomes frequent, or even goes beyond that, and you're seeing as a red flag, if you're here, you yourself start thinking that maybe every day. And sometimes we're in a job or situation that we don't like, and then stress adds upon itself.
So I want to make a comment, add a little neuroscience in there to bring some context. So there's a part of the brain that's called the prefrontal cortex, and it's responsible for decision making and all these kinds of things. Yes. It's so important, especially for regulation of your mood. A good example would be the way that you answer your mother is different from the way that you answer your brother, and that part of your brain is responsible for saying, okay, if I answer that way, I'll probably get blood, or she won't give me the thing that I need, or whatever, right? So there's a way of evaluating things. Now, what happens with chronic stress, and one of the key chemicals that's involved in this is called cortisol, and you might have heard me say it a few times before, is that it damages or it reduces a lot of the activity in neurons, that's not the right way to say it, but it deprecates the connections or reduces the connections in the prefrontal cortex. So what you find is that people that have depression, and I like that you brought it up, that people that have depression actually have this structural damage to their brains, okay, or structural difference to their brains that prevents them from really being able to manage all of the things that they're feeling. Absolutely. And which means that after they go through their round of ruminations, they finally reach a place that they cannot escape. Why? It's because they cannot take themselves out of it. Now, why is this important, and why is this relevant? We have an attitude in Trinidad, quite common. It's actually seen in almost every single sphere in education everywhere, where we tell the person what the result is that we want and think that they should magically get there. That is, well, just be happy. You understand? You tell the person,
shake yourself out of it.
They tell the person the result. But telling someone the result does not solve the problem. You see it with children as well. You say, well, just pull yourself together, or focus.
Snap out of it.
Snap out of it. You tell them the result, but do not give them the tools. And that's actually more frustrating. What you've done is add to their stress. Why? Because if I tell you, okay, you don't have hands, and I say, well, eat the food, and it's on the other hand, no hands, no legs, and I say, eat the food, and on the side of the room, if they don't give you what is necessary to get the food, it causes you frustration. So the idea is that it comes to two things, really. One is compassion for the people who are not in a position where they don't have the suicidal ideations, and then the other one is for the person who might have them, that you need to go and get an external force to assist you. Now, that's super important, because if you cannot escape your thoughts, you need help. You need help in order to do that. Now, some people use varying methods to pull that off. There's substance abuse is one of those things that kind of erupt out of that, right? Also, you have other situations where people decide, well, I'm going to consume ice cream, and the term comfort food comes from that, right? And I actually want to make mention of that, because I said it sometime before, but it might be of interest to you also, Kelly. It is that people who, a study was done where they gave some individuals emulsion of fat, a fat emulsion. And the other one, they gave them just salt water. They fed it through a tube to their stomachs. Now, the thing is that the people who had the fat emulsion they measured to have lower depression after having the fat emulsion. Now, why is that important? It means that people medicate in inverted commas, with fatty foods in order to get over their depression.
Pleasure centers, does it?
It connects to that. Of course, it connects to that. Yes. But not just that. They get a temporary fix. They get a temporary high.
Yes.
Now, why is this important? Why is this relevant to the people that are listening? It means that if you have all of these stresses in your life, also if you have these thoughts of, I really don't want to be here anymore, or whatever it is. And if it's also coming in where it's affecting the way that you eat and affecting the way that you sleep, I think those are some key indicators that you should say, well, okay, I need to get some extra help from outside. Because the thing is, the fix that you get from the ice cream, it does not last long. Yeah. And you feel bad for even consuming the ice cream. So what you're doing is setting yourself up.
A cycle.
Yeah, well, exactly. And that's pernicious. That's poisonous.
Yeah. And we are in Trinidad and Tobago. We have to talk about also self-medicating and comforting with alcohol and drugs.
Yeah, self-soothing.
Self-soothing, right? And that is another red flag. You know, the alcohol abuse and drug abuse. What are we trying to escape from? What are you struggling with?
Well, then we have a very big red flag in Trinidad.
But I'm talking abuser. I'm not talking.
But it is expected because if people don't have the tools, they'll use the next best thing. So I now mentioned that the thing with the eating of the fatty foods, right?
Yeah.
Some of the people who hear this now didn't even think about that.
Yes.
So the people will find a way to medicate, no matter what. They'll always find a way to medicate. Let's go take a step back to childhood. When you were in school and the boy in class take your pencil or whatever it is, wherever they do, what you do? You go and you tell your mommy. You go and you tell your daddy. You go and you tell your teacher. Lollipop. So in when we were younger, we actually saw the importance for our mental health. Well, I mean, obviously they didn't think about it, and talking to somebody. And talking to somebody.
Yes, yes.
But you move further on in life, and what happens? You can't talk. The boys can't talk to their fathers.
Touching on something.
You see,
there.
the boys can't talk to their fathers. So what you've done is sever the therapy connection in the child's life.
Okay, good point.
You understand? That's in when I sit down when I was studying. That's like amazing, crazy, amazing.
The snap out of it happens.
Yeah, because I think what happens? What happens with children to make them commit suicide? What was in place for us for therapy when we were younger? Because in reality, it's really a form of community that you're doing, and people make money off of that, right?
Correct.
God bless their souls. But the point I'm making is that we will always try, as human beings, try to find a way to get the things that we need, no matter what. No matter how corrupt, ostensibly, that might seem, we'll always find a way to get it.
And when we can't?
And when we can't, we get frustrated.
That's right.
That's right. Anyways, so carry on. Oh, wait, hold on. I think we have to have a word from our sponsor now, and we'll open up for calls straight after that. So I'm hoping you can pull that up. So, in the meantime, if you would like to call in to chime in, you can at 622-3937. That's 622-3937. And now a word from our sponsor.
Mindset is sponsored by the Heritage Inn. Now, the Heritage Inn is an award-winning 10-room guest house conveniently situated in Cascade. Every room is air-conditioned, and there's a lovely pool for everyone to enjoy. Now, Cascade is very close to Savannah, is very close to Port of Spain, is very convenient, right? It's like, if you want a small getaway, but you still want to be close to the activity, Heritage Inn is perfect for that. And the feel of the place is very, very European, right? It gives you that, I wouldn't say Paris feel, but you definitely get a European feel. And even if you drive, it's in walking distance from the city. So check out the Heritage Inn is perfect for a quick weekend getaway, or even if a longer getaway, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you and your partner, or you and your children.
The number.
Oh, sorry. Number is 621-5663. Again, for the Heritage Inn, is 621-5663, or you could go to www.heritageinntrinidad.com. That's HERITAGEINNTRINIDAD.com.
Yeah, I really like the place. I think it's awesome. And they have a pool as well, so you can soak there. So, someone called a little while ago. Are they on? Okay, so if you do want to call in, please call 622-3937. That's 622-3937. If you want to chime in, we'll look forward to hearing your calls. That's 622-3937.
So, Kheston, just talking about what you're saying about support. I think we all need support. And because we need support doesn't necessarily mean that we're weak or it's a form of weakness, but in terms of being a form of community, right? We are all connected, as we established before. And if I am going through some issue that I need assistance with, if I'm alone, it would affect society. And sometimes we think because it's just me, little old me, my issues, if I'm not here anymore, how will it affect? But we realize it does affect, because if we just look at how social media is set up, I know one person, that person knows 10 people, 100 people, and it multiplies. So when something affects us and we react, it affects society on a holistic scale.
Yeah. And I think two things that we have to be careful not to do, and one is isolation and the other one is invalidation, and I'll explain what I mean. So isolation basically is that, there's no one else, I'm the only person going through this problem. That's the first trouble of something. And then invalidation, which I think is endemic. There's a lot of it in Trinidad. I can't say specific to Trinidad, but it is that we say that what we feel is not important. So invalidation. So you say, okay, I shouldn't be feeling like this. I should just stop feeling like this.
I should be stronger.
I should be stronger. I should be whatever. And that's dangerous. That's very, very dangerous, because how you feel is legitimate. And I've seen it actually come up with, in parenting. I've seen it come up in religion, where they invalidate the way that people feel. Now, I'm religious. I don't know. I'm unabashedly Christian, but there's a point. It is dangerous for us as people in a civilized society to separate or abrogate ourselves from the way that we feel. To tell its members that it doesn't matter how you feel, just do what you have to do. Or it doesn't matter how you feel, just trust God. And it's like, no, that's not how it's supposed to work. It matters how you feel, because how you feel affects how you live. And it matters how you feel, and it matters that you have a voice to talk to someone to get help. So if you're in a situation where you don't have access to help, or people in your home don't listen, the government actually has support networks for these kinds of things. Am I right? We have them.
Yes, and we'll give out.
You'll give out some of them later, right? Awesome. That's super important. Yeah. Okay. So I'm done with that. But those two things just came to my mind.
Right. And what you even saying about your feelings being valid? I've once heard, and is up for discussion, someone said there's no such thing as an overreaction. Right? The person reacts in the way that they think they need to react.
That had me confused a little bit before, but I can appreciate it now.
And even apply it to yourself, because let's just say you're walking and you bounce your toe. I just give an example. And you start to cry. And you start to say, well, why everything happening in my life? And you say, but why again on so? It's just a stubborn toe. Maybe even some self introspection to realize, okay, well, what else is going on? Right? Why this small incident, whatever it is, have me feeling this way? Why did it bring me to tears? Why does it have me feeling so angry or frustrated or demotivated? And yes, of course we need support, but we could start with some self introspection, because and just piggybacking again on what Kheston's saying, all of our feelings are valid. Feelings are a sign that something is going on.
Absolutely.
And we need them. Every single one.
Right?
But they're natural. We're born with.
That's the thing. We are human. The thing is, all emotions, anger, sadness, so everything is normal.
Okay, so we actually have a call. Good day.
Hello?
Yes, hi.
Yeah. Good afternoon. I was speaking about suicide, right? Committing suicide, right?
Yes.
I was going to tell you, let us make a call to you. You see, if you feel so distressed, and you feel like you can't cope with the reality to face, you can't cope with life, you're feeling so bad, you feel so, you really can't cope, you can't tolerate with life again and on, or you're just worried about yourself, and you just feel like you can't be able to make it again, you don't want to feel like you have the strength and hope or something, and that would make you commit suicide. But then after, when you check yourself now, you realize that you don't have to commit suicide, you just have to live and face the reality as it is the challenges and the life you have to face, and be able to cope with it and face. You know, if you understand, somebody want to do something, harm you or something, and you can't do, you could tell yourself, well, you could have some other avenue to really think, so you don't have to kill yourself. You understand what I mean? Yeah.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much for that
Absolutely,
call.
thank you. Very encouraging, you know.
Right, and he made a good point there. See,
Yeah.
coping, and just piggybacking on what we all saying.
Yeah.
The ability to cope, you have to get tools to cope.
Absolutely.
Right, and all of us have a different amount of tools, and usually when people reach the stage of even thinking about suicide or even planning, is when they are low on tools. Right, and as Kheston said, seek support.
Yes.
Right, and that's why this conference or this seminar, right, that we having is a good way. Now, even if you yourself don't have any suicide ideations, it's good to come and get education so that you could give others that awareness, or even if you know someone in your life.
You are the one who needs to come because you have to help the ones who do. But what you just said there, Yohance, and what the callers kind of alluded to as well, is, you know, it makes me remember that, you know, we have to consider stigma too. Stigma plays a huge role in why people resort to suicide and other self-harming behaviors, because sometimes...
And that's the isolation part, right? Yeah.
Exactly. You isolate because, one, I'm the only one experiencing this because nobody is talking about it.
Right.
Two, people wouldn't understand, people will judge me, and perhaps people would say insensitive things. A lot of times people don't know what to say, and they just
they use the tools they have.
They use the tools they have.
I think we have another caller. Hello, caller, good day.
Hello, good day.
Hi, good day.
Good day.
Then I agree with you on some things. I'm of the view that suicide is a person trying to escape from a situation. Right? That's one. Apart from mental illness. But I'd like to ask this question. Have you done any study as to the rate of suicide in 2019-18 in comparison to the 60s? The 162, 63, 64.
That is interesting.
Just now. Have you done a comparative study with regards to the rate of suicide in countries that are wealthy against those that are poor? Because I'm of the view suicide comes out of an environment, because of the productive environment, comes out from an environment of social peer pressure. I'm of that. Thank you.
Thanks very much for that contribution.
I mean, he's correct. Your environment does impact. I mean, if you live in a village, sorry.
Yes, big time. Yeah,
if you live in a village where suicides have happened, you're more likely to see it as an option or you know, use that. But I have to make the statement that suicide does not discriminate by race or socioeconomic level at all.
That's right. And I don't know the stats for Trinidad compared to now in the 60s, but I know in particularly in Japan and a couple other countries that have a high suicide rate. And I think what the gentleman was saying about social pressure is actually very, very important, because we have there's something called social policy, and that is the policy that's kind of derived from the populace about various things, right? So in Trinidad one of them might be our bad relationship with mental health issues, right? That's one. But also religion has its part to play, which informs social policy. And the way that the community views life is also very important. So if you view life as something that you can end with access to another one, it probably increases the likelihood of you being willing to end it, because it's like just ending this version because you have access to another one. And I think that could also give some insight into what might be happening in Japan, for instance, or in Korea, and in certain parts of China, because they have challenges with that also. So it's more than it's a multifaceted thing, right? So
Definitely.
Yes, I agree very, very strongly that social pressure has its place. But I want to add something else to the list, because I thought this was very, very interesting. I think you, caller, also would find this curious as well. But what they showed was that people who have attempted or completed suicide, their brain structure is very different from people that have not. Okay, the way that their brain structured is different. And what the guys basically showed in their study, it's punitive, meaning they still have much more research to do, but it's still an important conversation about it. It is that there's a structural difference between, like I mentioned before, people who complete suicide versus people who don't. And what they were saying is that it's possible to predict whether someone will based on just brain scans, because they suggested that these changes actually manifest not in their adulthood, but those changes actually occur for the best part in their childhood. So I thought that was very, very interesting, and I said it's a new way, an interesting way for us to consider viewing mental health. I don't by any means think that we should go and do CAT scans and CT scans to everybody. I think that would be a waste of public funds. But I think the take home from it is we should consider our children now before they mature into people who would have these, persistent ideations, because we can teach them or give them the tools while they're young so that they're not, they don't have that, they don't see suicide as an option later on.
Right. And thanks for that, Kheston. And even though sometimes it may seem cliched, but the importance of childhood. Now, and tell me what you all think about this. I was having a discussion with people a few generations above me, and one was saying that is their fault. Is their fault that that children or younger generations not as resilient. So I'm not agreeing or disagreeing. We could discuss. Is that our parents, and I'll say I am 35, so we're going in 1980s babies, that generation, they had a lot of hardships, right? I'd hear my mom and my dad and grandmother talk about, have to do all the walking, sometimes bare feet, sometimes they have to bring water, they didn't have water. They spoke about all the hardships that made them into who they were. But the thing is, those same parents of that generation said, you know what, I don't want my children to ever experience that. So I wouldn't say they would deprive, but they take away the opportunity for children to go through hardships. So a lot of times children get whatever they want, or not get, but parents provide everything that they didn't have and say, I don't want my children to go through the hardships. But the thing is, life is full of hardships. Absolutely. So when the child comes out of that environment into the real world, there's no tools or hardly any tools of how to cope, because I've seen some cases where you were told if you go to school, you get your passes, you get your degree, you get everything, you'll have a job for you. And when you come out and there's no job, some people literally, I don't know what to do now.
It conflicts with the reality that they were told.
Right. Absolutely.
Or the reality you're told and cultivated. So that is just something I threw out there, because it was very interesting that, some people say this generation of children, I've heard people say very weak. Right? And I'm not saying that I agree with it, but they say they don't know how to do anything, and critical thinking, etc. And I always wondered, okay, if children growing up are a certain way, let's look back, because parents are the people who rear those children. So let me see what parents did. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but let's just look at the methodology.
So I want to comment, because I had been doing some research on this for a little while. Oh, we have another call? Okay, hi, caller, good day.
Good day. Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
The remark you made there about the parents who want their children to go through hardship. That discussion is always comes up. But why would, if you know the hardship that you go through, as a parent, as you said, walking miles to school, washing in a tub plus possibly with a scrubbing brush, going to the outhouse, and all that. Why would you want your children to go through that? How will you bring back that to discipline your children, to teach them that? There are ways of teaching them to be thrifty and self-discipline, but you don't want to expose them to that.
Okay.
That is where you are is progress.
Okay.
So I share to some. Okay, we can close the call. Yeah, I share to some degree what you just said, because I don't see it. I don't see some of it as hardships. I see some of it as discipline, and every single society, almost every single society, have things in place for discipline. But and you especially saw it in the older cultures. This is like, for instance, in Asia, also in Latin America and with indigenous peoples, it is that they had things that the people would do that would actually train discipline, actually train patience, and other things like that, right? I'll give you a couple of good examples. Martial arts, for example, with Tai Chi, they teach discipline, control, and mastery over the body, and mastery over the mind. And then let's take another one. You have, I like to use this example, is basket weaving, for example. Or knitting, for example. So all these sort of repetitive activities teach patience. They also subdue and relax the mind and other things. So my thing is that we throw the baby out with the bathwater. So I don't think it's necessary that they need to go to the outhouse and they need to go to these things,
Correct.
but they don't have the opportunity to get mental and emotional vigor. What we've done is have children with weak no muscles. All right? And when I say no muscles, is being rejected or the ability to deal with not getting something that they want. And I think that is a huge danger. The more people we have that accumulate like that in a society, actually the more people the more corrupt the society becomes, right? Yeah. The more dangerous it becomes. And now I'm not one for necessarily going for the socialist and communist route, but I look at the strong nationalist ideals of countries like Singapore that had independence around the same time that we did. By no means do I say that they're happier than us. I think Trinidad is on the index of happiness much higher, but it's a sacrifice, it's an exchange. But the idea is that they cultivated the habits of discipline, self-control, and so on, and they reaped a stronger society for that, right? Of course, there were the things that they have issues with, like, suicides and other things like that, but the idea is that it's important for us as people to make sure that our children have these tools, and self-discipline is actually one of the most powerful tools that you can confer to your child. It is not a nice car, it is not a great school, it is discipline. Because once they have mastery over themselves, they can be trusted to have mastery over the world's faculties. Yeah. So, anyways, that's kind of what I was musing on when I looked at how things were done before, because I think it's important for us to see how it went in the past in order for us to know how we're going to go in the future.
Thanks very much. And that ties into, and Caller, just even confirm, we weren't saying that they'll have to go to the outhouse or literally walk barefooted, but and as Kheston was saying, is the process, right? Going through a certain process, you get to understand and appreciate the goal and the end of it. So, if you had to bring water to bathe, to drink, then you'd appreciate the water more than if it just comes out the pipe, right? And if it just comes out the pipe, who pays for it? How do we get it? I remember growing up, asking my mom for different things. I knew she could afford it, but she always used to make me work at least more than I thought I should have for it. So if something costs, let's say $100, I may have to do 5 tasks that worth $5, 20 tasks that worth $5, or even 100 tasks worth $1. And at the end of the process, sometimes I wouldn't even want it because I work so hard for this. But I'm saying even that process, and there's a study we mentioned earlier that the correlation between resilience and lower suicidal ideations. So the more resilient you are, and what process does? Process increases your critical thinking. So when you're faced with a difficulty, because I'm accustomed critically thinking, I could come up with more options. I could come up with more tools. So I wouldn't think that, there's nothing left to do but turn to suicide. There's nothing left to do but die and come out of this world. You'll be able to think a lot more and pull from a lot of tools. Even if you yourself come up with them, right? You'll be able to apply that to whatever the situation is. Tell me some of your thoughts, Kelly.
No, definitely. I think, that's the thing. And we learn that from growing up. We learn how to manage stress growing up, seeing how our parents respond to situations. Do they get very emotional and start yelling and cursing and throwing things and breaking things and hitting? And then when the child goes to school and they start hitting, we don't understand, why are they hitting? We have to, and as Kheston spoke earlier about the frontal cortex, we develop children's frontal cortex.
Correct.
Cortex, courtesies. We develop children's frontal cortices, and if we aren't mindful of what we are putting in, then we will be shocked at what we get out of them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why when you make the decision, or even if you don't make the decision, but you have a child and you're in a child's life, we have to be aware of these things and consider these things, that we are equipping them with tools to manage, to navigate this world, this tough world.
And it reminds me, even something we said earlier about just telling the child to do something and not telling them how to do it. Mm-hmm. Right? It's like when in standard 5, suddenly, he's the oldest in his school now, and he expects to know how to study and act in a mature way. Then when you're in form already in big school now, you're suddenly expected to know how to act. Then in Form 5, how to act. And then today I'm 17, tomorrow is my birthday, I'm 18. Well, you're adult now, act like an adult. The question is how.
But one thing to that, so let me play devil's advocate for you.
Nice.
Just a little bit. There's a school of thought in rearing or raising children that suggests that we allow them to explore their own ideas for solving problems before we intervene and tell them what to do. So that as well helps to develop the prefrontal cortex and
I definitely agree with that.
And learn from those types of experiences. What would they do? What do you think you should do? And then if they don't know, but so it comes back to the point of support. So if you throw a baby in the water, they will swim or they will float, they'll turn around, right? Because but if we see them drowning, we have to run in and help them, right?
And I think that's the balance we have to strike in terms of allowing people or children to go through quote unquote hardships, but also within some kind of framework, right? So we wouldn't let a child go through something to their detriment, but going through the process of whether it's hard work or what we call quote unquote hardships, right? Creates that resilience, nurtures and grows that resilience. So then when they enter the real world, which of course is not the easiest place at all, then they're able to face it. And just one quick, it reminds me of, I remember there was a parent who says, her son broke up with his first girlfriend, right? And she's like, well, you have plenty more that to get, just get over this one. Right? And then I asked her, I said, you remember when you had your first breakup? She's like, yeah. And I say, how you feeling? She's like, yeah, boy. And she went through it and it was hard. So I say, but she said, I know that's small thing, but he has to go through that.
That's right.
Let him experience his own feelings.
And what statements like that do is confuse the child as to, so wait, I'm not supposed to feel like this?
That's exactly it.
This is abnormal.
What they're feeling.
My emotions are abnormal.
So before we continue, I do want to say a word from our sponsor. It is from the Heritage Inn. And the Heritage Inn is an award-winning 10-room guest house. And it's located in Cascade. It has air conditioning. There's a pool. The pool is actually very nice. And you get free breakfast with your stay. It is the perfect weekend getaway. And if you'd like to make a reservation today, you can at 621-5663. That is 621-5663. That is the Heritage Inn, where... yeah, you're just going to have a good time. That's my guarantee for you. So anyways, we're going to carry on with the conversation, and we're talking about suicide. And you're listening to Mindset on I95.5. If you do want to call in, feel free to do so at 622-3937. That's 622-3937. Or if you are radio shy, you can message in at 4955. That's 4955.
Thank you, Kheston. Now, I read something about the role of modern technology in suicide rates. Now, tell me what you think about this. The research said that lots of people who engage in RPG games. RPGs, MMORPGs are those games where, you build a character from scratch. It's like a second world, like a second life. And there was a high suicide rate in people who play those games, right? And the research showed that in conjunction with what you're saying, everyone wants an escape, right? So the game became the escape. So, and in the game, of course, lots of the rewards can be instant. right? So we want to feel better. We want that dopamine. We want to feel like we're progressing. So we play those games, and necessarily don't have to be those kind of games, but games in general. Or even technology in general, because if let's say I'm sad and I want to get some motivation, I can pull up YouTube, boom, boom, I get something motivational, right? So being in the habit of just getting something instantly that makes me feel good actually can put you at a disadvantage to the real world, because when you're out there in the real world and you want a bad situation to change immediately, you don't have that facility. So even as we interact with technology and the instantaneousness of it, right, can put us at our resilience level lower at dealing with things in the real world, because we get in it so easy. Because just imagine, we have a device now, we can just pick up and call someone. When you pick up and call, if the reception bad, we get frustrated, right? If the person can't hear you, get frustrated. But we have that convenience, and even more and more, our resilience level will be a lot lower. And as things progress. Before, let's say there was no automobiles, we had to walk. So I learned the route, I learned what to do, how to eat, etc. to reach there. Now we have automobiles. Some of us, when our cars by the mechanic, we can't even function because I can't travel, or I don't want to travel, or it's too long to travel, or I can't wait for a maxi or a taxi, etc. So it actually brings down our resilience to the hardships of life.
But you know that you can actually train resilience.
Yes, you can cultivate
and I think that's important. Yes, you can cultivate it, and that's actually important for people who are listening to know. So you know, well, what Yohance was saying just now, and we've mentioned before, is that your resilience is important. You should give it. Oh, we have a call. Hello.
Hello, good day.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Clarify something for me, right?
Yeah.
But before I ask the question, you didn't answer any question that I asked earlier on. Societal pressure. You don't have a car, the car shut down, you don't make any education, what have you. In these particular areas, you have pressures in these areas that make you feel that while you're in that situation, you want to escape. But I want to ask a question you alluded to earlier on. You said the brain structure of a suicidal person is different from, let's say, a normal person. My question is this: is it the matter structure or the process, how he or she process information, which in my view, and subject to correction, is based on the environment he was brought up into. So could you clarify that?
Yeah, sure. So it is a structural thing. And well, the assumption is because the brain is like a electrochemical computer with circuits and all these things, right? So a structural impact also implies, to some degree, can imply a functional impact. Okay, so someone who's had, for example, a stroke, there's a great example because it's loss of function. They've had a stroke and a particular part of their brains died. There is a structural defect or structural damage that precipitates some kind of functional damage. So they lose the ability to move a side of their body, or they lose the ability to speak. So you're right. No, not so much right. It is the both of them, or it can be the both of them. So that reduction in function, particularly in the prefrontal cortex, affects the way that they can manage their feelings, also manage their emotions, and manage their interaction with other people. But it comes now. I can bring that back to what we were saying before with building resilience. So the more resilient that you are, it actually has a structural difference in the brain. Okay, there are more connections in the prefrontal cortex. You find it especially with people that stick to their diets. For one reason or the other, people that stick to the diets tend to have higher function in their prefrontal cortex than people who constantly renege on their diets, right? And if that part of the brain is responsible for decision making and will and mental vigor, then you can see why that would actually happen. But I want to make that now relevant to what we were saying before with boosting and improving your mental strength or vigor, if you please. And I'll make reference to something that happens every day in life. If your wife or your partner, whatever is, ask you to, just put out the garbage when you go out in the morning. That'll be easy. You take the garbage from inside, you're
For
going
most
out.
people.
For most people, okay. You put the garbage out, right? Okay, good. Now another day, you come home in the evening, but you reach home like 11 or 12 o'clock in the night. It was a long day, and you're real tired. And she said, boy, just pour the garbage and you'll grimace. It's just harder. And the general idea is that it's a finite resource, your resilience. That's the point I'm trying to make. Your mental strength, I'm connecting it to that now. It's a finite resource, and you consume it during your day. Now, why is that important? It's important because you're responsible for replenishing the resource and also exercising the resource. Because the more you exercise it, is the more that you're able to do it. Same as with muscles in your body. So the idea is you actually have to practice resisting the thoughts that you get. I guess the first place to do is get help. If you can't, get help. And that person then becomes like this, I was going to say a surrogate, but they become a support for you in that. That's why people pay for therapy. The therapist acts as an interrupter, in this case, of the ruminations that they're having. They interrupt it. Now, once you get to interrupt it, then you can change it. And they help you to change it. But you are responsible for that new conversation that you're having with your mind. What you're really doing is not so much practicing a new way of speaking to yourself. You are actually practicing a new way of resisting the thoughts that you had from before. And that is what builds the mental vigor. That's what builds the mental strength. And it's the same thing that you see when people resisting having the ice cream that they didn't want to have because they're on their diet, or resisting the chicken that they didn't want to have because it's Lent. So I just want to submit that in summary, that you can build that vigor again, but you just might need some help. So seek it if you can.
And that goes in terms of self-care techniques. We often take care of a lot of other people, but we don't take care of ourselves. And one thing, Kheston and I was discussing earlier in terms of planned relaxation, right? We tend to only relax when we're stressed. But if we relax either way, right? So you have, let's say, every Wednesday you go and relax somewhere. Every Saturday you go and do it. Don't just do it when you feel overwhelmed. Because all of us have, as Kheston was saying, a finite, and let's call it emotional bank. Right? And every day, as we go through the day, there are deposits and withdrawals. And a lot of times we have a lot of withdrawals. Right? From the time you wake up, you can't find the outfit you want to wear, there's a withdrawal. Then you go in traffic, there's a withdrawal. Then somebody didn't tell you morning, there's a withdrawal. Then in a job you don't want to be in, there's 8 hours of withdrawal. So time you reach home, your emotional bank at overdraft. Right? And that is where our resilience lowest. There was a study that says diets are usually broken, most diets are broken in the evening time or in the night, because that's when we are our weakest, our resilience low. There's a research that showed even domestic violence happens predominantly at night when our self-control is lower, right? We didn't do any correlations for suicide, but it'd be interesting to know if the time of day that it happens also, if it's correlated with that lower level of resilience.
I don't doubt it at all. I mean, I don't know myself, but that would be interesting to ponder on or to check.
I think for the most part with suicide, a lot of times it's a matter of convenience, when maybe you might want to, if you're doing it at home, it's when people aren't around, whatever time of the day that is. So if your family works and goes to school, when they're gone, that's when you...
Oh, I see.
Right?
Right, yes, okay.
Yeah, so it might
more
be
convenience, yes.
But what you were saying is so absolutely right about self-care when you're not... When you think you don't need it, relaxation. Because anytime I do relaxation with my clients who have anxiety or anything else, I always from inception say, I want you to do this, whatever relaxation techniques I give them, when you are not stressed, when you are not anxious. Do it every day regardless of how you feel. That's the only way it's going to work, because when, let's say you experience something like anxiety, when you are at your peak of anxiety, the last thing you are thinking about is breathing. The last thing you are thinking about is anything that would relax you. You are more likely to do something more impulsive. But when you're used to doing certain things that calm you down, calm your nervous system, and keep you, in a good level state of mind, easier for you to tap into it. So that is so
That's
important.
right. And it's something that I explained like to the students that we have at the Focus Clinic, right? And to their parents. I keep looking for like a name like for the theory, but I can't find one. So I just call it the satiety principle. And it's easy for everybody to understand if with this little example. Have you ever been hungry? The answer to everybody is yes, you've been hungry. And what do you do when you're hungry?
Right now.
You go looking, you have food-seeking behavior, right? And if your food-seeking behavior is frustrated or you don't get to do it, then you end up frustrated. So you go by the fridge, you go in the cupboard, you go in the in wherever you have to go, and if you can't find it and you don't have access to it anywhere else, you get hangry, right? And it's also curious. That's one of the reasons why people keep going to the fridge even though they have food in it. So your body makes you feel, hey, hungry, go seek food. And then you go seek food. So even though there's no food there, you still keep going back because your body gives you the feeling. So that's the reason why. In case you wanted to know why you keep going to the fridge and there's no food in it. The other thing is that actually has relevance to the way that you feel. Because remember, like I said, everybody is looking to achieve a certain state, right? Whether it is homeostasis, they want to be in the same state they are usually, or they want to be happy, whatever it is. But when you're looking to be happy, you have to think about it like when you're looking for food. It is if you cannot find it, then you get frustrated. You understand? So when you are sad, what you're looking for is to be happy.
Correct.
So if you cannot find it, then you get frustrated. And that could be applied, on and on and on in different ways. So it is if you are having these, coming back to what you're saying with self-care. If you know where the fridge is or you know where the food is all the time, then you will not get frustrated. Why? Because you go and you get it.
Right.
Makes sense? So if you know what to do when you are relaxed, when you're stressed, or you know what to do when you're anxious, or you know what to do when you're frustrated, then guess what? You are less likely to get frustrated because you know where to go before you get it. Right? So that's super powerful because it's connected to something that Yohance said many times in the show. You have to know why. You have to know why. Because if you know why, you know how you can intervene. And I also say if you know how it feels, just like what you mentioned before, then you know where to go to. And that's super important for us to do. So seek the things that you need, but do it the right way.
So Kelly, before as you're wrapping things up, just give the listeners information again
about the event.
Yes.
Well, let me start by saying 50 to 60% of people who die by suicide have family members and friends who saw signs. Some of them may not, and the rest who are not in that statistic probably didn't know that they saw signs.
Right.
So my point there then is, we might see signs, we might be in denial, we might not be sure if we see signs. What do we do? So for that reason, the Trinidad and Tobago Association of Psychologists is having a suicide awareness seminar for suicide awareness and prevention on Saturday, the 27th of April, that's this coming Saturday, from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at Amphitheater 2 of the Eric Williams Medical Sciences Complex. It is free to the public. Just come in, bring a friend, and learn how to recognize suicidal thoughts and behaviors, well, not behaviors, but suicidal thoughts, how to recognize the warning signs, how to improve your communication skills, what to do when you see warning signs and you wonder about, helping somebody, and what the available resources for intervention are. This is not just for people who feel suicidal. This is for everybody, anybody who has the compassion and feels like they might want to help someone in need. Now, suicide is very common. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. Suicide isn't very common, but we have had, anybody who looks at the news know that we do have some issues with suicide in Trinidad and Tobago. There have been quite a few, whether it's attempts or completed ones among our youth as well, youth who are preparing for exams and so on. And we need to equip ourselves as citizens of Trinidad and Tobago and of the world to be able to help people, children and adults alike, when they feel this way. So come out to the event and learn the tools to help others.
Yes, and I endorse that.
I implore you.
Please come out as April the 27th, as this Saturday. right, from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at the Eric Williams
Medical Sciences Complex.
Right, perfect.
So, Amphitheater 2.
And just for those who wanted to know, the suicide hotline for Trinidad and Tobago is 645-2800 or 645-6616. Again, the suicide hotline is 645-2800 or 645-6616.
So there was a sobering statistic that was said earlier in the show that I'd like to say. Is 800,000 people is about a year. That's one every 40 seconds.
Every 40 seconds, yeah.
So I did some math while we were talking, and that means that about 90 people completed suicide since we started having this conversation. And I think that's really sobering, and it means that even though we just talk about it, we actually have to do something about it. So my words in closing are to seek help, to get help, and to be help. You have been listening to Mindset. Thank you so much. We are really excited to talk with you about psychology and neuroscience in our culture every day. Have a good one. See you next time.
Hi, I'm Kheston Yohance.
And I'm Yohance Ayodike.
Have you ever wondered why we do the things we do?
Find out on Mindset, where we explore culture using neuroscience and psychology.
Every Monday from 2 to 3 p.m. right here on I95.5 FM.
The most influential name in radio, I95.5 FM Talk.
3 nights, 3 remarkable experiences.
Tobago Jazz Experience is here.
The Big Show International Night, Sunday, April 28th, the iconic Pigeon Point Heritage Park, featuring Tony Braxton. Grammy Award winner Michael Bolton. R&B sensation Jacquees, and so much more. Thursday, April 25th, it's Jazz on the Waterfront.
Scarborough Esplanade, Caleb Hart, Leandra HD, and Charlene Bailey.
Saturday 27th, get ready for Jazz in Speyside with the Electric Slide Lady, Marcia Griffith. Ola Tunji,
Busy Signal,
Dwayne Stevenson,
the Leon Moore Band,
Image and Company. Get tickets now at Caches nationwide, Penny Savers, Courts Megastore, Courts Freeport, and South Park, Pablo's, and IslandEtickets.com. For more info, call 639-4441. Kindly sponsored by the Tobago House of Assembly, NLCB, Courts, and Be Mobile.
Turn your imagination into opportunity with the Trinidad Express Super Writers Essay Competition. If you're between the ages of 16 and 22, this is your chance to tell your original story in 5,000 words or less. You can win a summer internship with the Trinidad Express newspapers. Plus, you can win cash and other fabulous prizes. For more info on entering the competition, visit trinidadexpress.com/superwriters or call 623-1711 today. It's the Trinidad Express Super Writers Essay Competition.
We believe that you can dream it. We believe that you can drive it. PSCU Credit Union offers 100% financing on new and foreign used vehicles. Conditions apply. For information, visit us on Facebook or any of our conveniently located branches, or call 623-7570 and in Tobago at 639-1926. PSCU. On us, you can rely.
Famous Building Solutions. Raising customers' expectations. You heard of it yet?
It's called the Damus Effect, a unique trifecta in service.
Damus customers know this.
A full team at your back,
supporting keeping things on track.
Roofing and building products certified and well affordable. You decide. The Damus Effect.
Raising the bar. Damus makes you the star. Experience the Damus Effect firsthand. Call us today. 866-ROOF. Damus Building Solutions. Raising your expectations.
Did you hear about the NGC Bocas Lit Fest, Trinidad and Tobago's great festival? It's packed with spoken word, films, discussions, famous writers from all over the world, prizes, music, extempo and old mass competition, plus a whole children's festival. And it's all free, except if you want to do a writer's workshop. There is food, books and local craft for sale too. It's from the 1st to the 5th of May at Nalin.